Syria's Foreign Minister, Walid Muallim, says any foreign ground troops who enter the country will be sent home in coffins. Bahrain has now joined Saudi Arabia in expressing a willingness to commit ground troops to Syria as part of a coalition to fight Daesh. But Muallim dismissed the proposals when asked about them at a news conference.
You're joking. Are you sure they declared that? What a joke. I keep saying that according to logic, I would exclude the Saudi intervention, but at the same time, the mad leadership of Saudi Arabia would not exclude doing so. I warn that any offensive on the Syrian territories will result in the return of those who assault us in wooden boxes to their country.
Well, for more on the fight for Aleppo, Gulnur Aybet joins me now. She's the head of political science and international relations at Cheshire University. Gulnur, thank you very much for your time. Good to see you. Let's try and make sense of recent events then. How likely is it that Aleppo is going to fall to the regime here? And what are the implications if it does?
Well, if the Russian bombardment continues unimpeded, and it looks like it will because the international community don't seem to be willing to do anything about it. And of course, they are supporting the Assad regime. The Assad regime are making serious gains on the ground because of the support of Russian airstrikes. So if this continues, there is a likelihood that Aleppo will fall. And this is a stronghold held by the opposition from the very beginning of the war, and it'll be a huge game changer in the way, the direction, the way the war is shaping up on the ground.
Is a negotiated peace at all possible at the moment until the future of Aleppo has been decided militarily, do you
Well,
think?
I mean, it's no coincidence that the Russian onslaught has started with the Assad regime now during the Geneva negotiations last week, which fell apart, because what the Russians would like to do is, first of all, strengthen the Assad regime's hand at the table, but also to present to the rest of the negotiating team an option of either Assad or ISIS and completely eradicate the opposition, which it seems are in a very tough situation right now. And of course, the opposition have said in Geneva that they were not willing to negotiate until the sieges had been lifted and the bombing campaign had been lifted. And of course, that doesn't look like it's going to happen. But for the immediate future, the big catastrophe, of course, is the number of refugees that are piling up at this tiny strip corridor. It's not very tiny, but it's the Azaz corridor, so-called, which is now being cut off in terms of the supply route from Turkey to the opposition groups. If Aleppo falls, you can imagine more than 1 million people streaming into that corridor, and it's much more than Turkey can cope with, who are already hosting nearly 3 million. And the EU are being very ambivalent about their policy, because they say that you have to secure your border against the flow of foreign fighters and so forth, but at the same time you have to take these people in. And the 3 billion or so they've given is not going to alleviate the situation, because Turkey is already hosting more than 2.5 million refugees.
You say there's a lack of willing from the international community to do anything about this. Why do you think that is at the moment?
Well, I mean, there seems to be, from the very beginning of the war, this very reactive attitude towards the Syrian war. I mean, unless something gets really bad, the West doesn't really wake up and notice it. And the US foreign policy has been a series of stopgap measures and a certain inconsistency in their attitude. For example, the chemical weapons, that was a red line, and then it wasn't. And then work with Russia, don't work with Russia. Assad must go, mustn't go, you know. So there's all that ambivalence from the US side, but also from Europe. I mean, until the refugees hit their shores this summer, Europe hadn't even considered this an issue that was of direct concern to them, whereas Turkey has been hosting over 2 million refugees for some time. So, you know, it's this reactive approach, and these stopgap measures have to end, and the West has to really come up with a comprehensive solution that involves some kind of humanitarian intervention for those people that are being trapped in that corridor, and the numbers that are going to increase if Aleppo falls. Otherwise, we're going to face a serious humanitarian catastrophe.
Okay, Gulnur Aybet, thank you very much for your time.